What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk about that this might sound obvious, but it's still pretty good to cover that the existence is an ongoing happening. It's not a done thing. And the reason why I want to cover that a little bit, even though it's pretty basic, but I sort of feel that a lot of people have quite a static view where they barely look at things in linear terms. So linear terms would mean, okay, it's going to change a little bit each year, maybe, I don't know, 1%, 2%, but even that I feel that many people have a hard time to look at. And so existence being an ongoing happening, what does that many ways mean? Well, it means, first of all, it's not a done thing. So it keeps on going. And you have two things here happening. So first you have the happening, that what a human being is always being tweaked. So for example, a lot of ideas that a human has today or had last week or whatever, it's something that always is changing. It's always being tweaked. And you can also see this with generations, how much different each generation is compared to the previous generation, because the happening keeps on tweaking. So you see a lot of people talking about, especially this is also one of the reasons why people have such a hard time to look at, well, how will the future look like and stuff like that. I mean, could people imagine 10 years ago you would have this good phone and make videos and that you would earn some digital token? No, I don't think most people even could have that concept in their head. So this is very interesting. So you also have a dissolution going on at the same time. That means you have existence, you have happenings, but at the same time it needs to dissolve the old stuff. So you have happenings that are basically ongoing in the existence, and then you have dissolution of the old. That means, I mean, you can just look at it as a human. They have their body, they have their cells that are being replaced. And the older they get, the more newer cells is going to be more rare. So a human in many ways is dissolving until that process is complete, until a human is maybe 100 years. So then that dissolution phase basically is complete, or we can call it death, or we usually call it death. But you still have it happening, the existence, the happening still goes on, right? So this is one of these very interesting wonky spaces, because humans, if you just look at this this place, for us it's pretty hard to imagine a time frame maybe even beyond 100 years. It's very hard for us to imagine the 1800s, the 1700s. And if you read just a little bit of older stuff, maybe from, for example, now with the internet, you can read stuff from, let's say, 1950s, and you see that people sort of were talking about the same sort of stuff that we did. And it's very interesting when the existence happening keeps on going, that sort of what we put in our memory, that is something that other people relive over and over and over again. And that's very interesting now, because with our memory machines, there will be no need to always have to repeat sort of the same sort of mistakes as previous generations did, because we're gonna have more memory than ever before, and it's gonna be packed in a memory card. So when I read, for example, news articles and stuff like that from the 1950s, it is, I mean, it really is sort of the same stuff they talked about. They were, in many ways, this is what humans are doing. They are basically, in many ways, they're not looking so much on ideas. They're mainly looking at events, the current events, and the current people that are at the moment doing something, or that are being put on as leaders or whatever. So they're mainly caught up in the events, or we can also call it short-term drama. So even, I think that even, so first we have almost, I think, 3 layers to this. So first we have the very basic layer, people, and then the other one is maybe a little bit more sophisticated, events, and then you do have even more sophisticated, maybe, ideas. But maybe the 4th one is to just look at happenings, that if you have a better, clear understanding that, well, even ideas are pretty limited. And if you just look at it as, well, everything is just a series of happenings, and a human is a happening, and if a human really understands that they cannot analyze a happening, they can experience being happening, and they can sort of see, they can sort of become very excited about looking at the happening. And what I mean with that is, they can become very excited at seeing how they are changing a little bit from day to day. And I think that can be even more exciting than ideas, or maybe a vision, or maybe some goals, because in many ways I feel that a lot of people sort of get caught up into that, while I think that if a person really is experiencing the happening that they are, and the happening around them, that can be more interesting, and that can also be easier than to understand sort of life. So, I mean, as I said in the past, I mean, okay, so a human is life, right? There's nothing there to analyze. A human is basically a happening. And for example, the logical mind, it cannot really grasp the concept, I think, of being a happening, because it would try to sort of get to some kind of conclusion, or it would sort of try to put the existence, like, do you know, for when you really understand it's just a happening, do you realize like how silly it would be to try to analyze the happening with the logical mind? There is really nothing to analyze, really, because you can just observe it, and you can see that stuff is dissolving, and stuff is happening. It really is as easy as that. Like, there is nothing that you need to analyze any deeper. You can see that stuff is growing and stuff is dissolving, and the only thing you can do is basically experience it when you are being as involved as possible. While the logical mind, it can only be good for survival, basically. So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. And one very exciting thing about this, I think, the being a happening, basically, is really that I think that can really empower a human, because they see that, well, what you were yesterday it's already sort of dissolving. It's sort of already fading away. Of course, if a human sort of is stuck in memory, sort of a memory loop, then the process of dissolving that, what happened yesterday, I mean, it sort of will take a longer time, but it's still going to dissolve one day. So what I see when people get stuck in ideas, they in many ways gets very frustrated, because they sort of see as, I think they get caught up in this this idea that it's never basically going to dissolve, that it's always going to be sort of the same, and being stuck in that can be frustrating. And I also think that the thinking process a lot of people have, some introverted, some extroverted, I sort of think that it's sort of it completely, many ways, forgets the how fast, if a human see brand new possibility, and they magically start to do some other kind of form of action, the logical mind can never see that coming, because they usually do not believe so much in that humans can be tweaked that fast, and that it can that humans basically, that they, when they understand that they can tweak themselves so fast in whatever now they are investing the time or energy or resources into, and that sort of makes, many ways, a person that's just stuck in thinking, they many ways very confused, I would say. So there is a mystery, maybe you can call it a mystery factor with happening, because, for example, the mind, it always want to know what happens in the end, right? It always want to sort of know what happens in the end. But if you look at this existence itself, if it's an ever expanding existence, then there really is no end. Not anything close to. I mean, really, there really is no end. If it's ever expanding, the universe, I think that's even science now. Yeah, there really is no end, and we know that humans love endings. That's why they watch movies, TV shows. But funnily enough, many people get very frustrated at the end of their favorite TV show, because it's never how they wanted it to be. So the cool thing with that ever expanding and the happening is that so much excitement. I like there really is so much excitement, because the way logical mind usually looks at excitement is, okay, pleasure, or get some money and consume it, or whatever. Well, the happening is, it's too big to be explained into words. The excitement, because any possibility, any door can basically be opened up. It's just a question of time, energy, resource that is being invested in something. So yeah, the happening idea, I love that idea. We can call it an idea, but this is something that I heard from basically smarter people than me, and it just makes sense. Like, it really just makes sense. And I think that a lot of people are gonna eventually move into that phase where they see, I think, yeah, even the science guys are saying this right now, that we will never know. We will never know. Because for a while they said, oh, we're gonna know one day how these atoms work. But then they're like, oh, we're never gonna know. Yeah. But a person basically can know by their own experience. They can know life, because they are life, right? Yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. And this is sort of stuff that I like to look at, because it keeps life very open. Yeah, have a great day, DTube and the Steam blockchain. Bye bye.